Ever wondered what it would be like if Einstein, Steve Jobs, and your child's brain had a party? Welcome to the Neuroquirky Nexus, where we celebrate the extraordinary minds of our neurodiverse children. I want to welcome all of you amazing parents and caregivers to this podcast. This is for all of you navigating the colorful world of neurodiversity. We're here to explore holistic, out-of-the-box solutions for your children and teens with ADHD, stress, anxiety, and other neuroquirks. Each week, we'll dive into practical brain-based techniques and quirky strategies to help your child thrive. I'm Laurie Bloyer, a former veteran teacher turned holistic neurogrowth learning and life success coach. As a parent of a neurodiverse child myself, I've spent countless years researching, experimenting, and developing unconventional approaches to support these unique minds. I myself have ADHD, diagnosed later in life, and I really look forward to sharing with you tips, tricks, and strategies to help you and your child thrive and help us all connect to the wonders of your child's neurodiversity. So, let's get quirky. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Neuroquirky Nexus. I'm so glad you're with us today. Today, we are going to be diving into a topic that many parents of children with ADHD and neurodiversities find themselves facing often: how to gently and effectively educate teachers and parents and society at large that your child isn't bad, but rather has a unique way of learning and experiencing the world. As parents, it can be tough to hear comments that label your child as difficult, disruptive, or unfocused. But what if we could flip that script? What if instead of focusing on the negatives, we help the world see the amazing qualities that your child has to offer? Wouldn't that be amazing? Today, we're going to talk about how you, as a parent, can subtly and gracefully educate those around you about ADHD. I say subtly because advocacy doesn't always need to be loud and confrontational. The most powerful shifts happen when we gently guide people to see our children through a new lens, one that highlights their strengths, creativity, and their potential. Let's explore how you can partner with teachers, reframe conversations in social situations, and respond to misunderstandings in ways that not only defend your child, but also educate and invite others to support them. I know firsthand how isolating it can feel when people just don't get it, whether it's in the classroom or on the playground or even within your own family. But it's important to remember your child isn't bad. And they need to remember that too. They are not bad. They are navigating a world that often wasn't designed for the way they think and feel. And it's up to us as parents to help build those bridges of understanding one conversation at a time. So in this episode today, we're going to arm you with strategies for how to approach teachers with compassion and practical tips, how to subtly educate friends and family when they make well-meaning but misguided comments, and how to change the societal narrative around ADHD in a way that honors your child's uniqueness, giving power to them. As always, we'll end with a fun, quirky activity that you can do with your child to help them. I remember when my own child was in kindergarten, and the teacher pulled me aside to talk about how he just couldn't sit still. Sound familiar? We all dread those teacher contacts. Remember, I'm a former or recovering teacher, so I know what it's like to send information and have these conversations with parents, but also to be a parent because of my neurodiverse child. When the teacher pulled me aside, my heart sank a little bit because I knew this conversation was coming. Instead of feeling defensive, I saw it, though, as an opportunity to share what I knew about ADHD. But at that stage was really not a lot. But being a teacher, I knew a little bit and was able to kind of hold my ground. I talked about how sitting still for long periods was hard for him, but that when he was given small tasks or allowed to use some approved fidgets, he could focus much better. And over time, the teacher saw what I saw when she opened her mind to using these tools that I'm going to share with you. And these fidgets, she saw what I saw, a child with endless curiosity and energy, not a disruptive student. The goal today is to give you tools to help shift how others see your child, from seeing ADHD as a set of challenges to recognizing it as a unique way of engaging with the world. With small changes in language and how we present our child's strengths, we can change the conversation, both inside and outside the classroom and on the streets and the playgrounds. Okay, let's get started. So as you remember, I'm Laurie Bloyer, a former teacher turned holistic neurogrowth learning and life success coach, and I have a neurodiverse child myself. And that's why I'm passionate about serving others and helping others with this podcast. So let's get started with segment 1, the power of language. Why language matters. So language, as you know, is incredibly powerful, right? It has the power to build us up or break us down. And especially the way we talk to our children and what they hear from us. That's an interesting exercise. That could be a whole episode itself. Testing to see what your child has heard versus what you've said. And the way we describe their behaviors and abilities can influence how others see them and even how they see themselves. For kids with ADHD who may already feel different or singled out, the words we use can either reinforce the idea that something is wrong with them or show them that they have the unique strengths that are just as valuable. Words can bring you down and bring you up. It's amazing. So the goal here isn't to sugarcoat or downplay challenges, but rather reframe, as we talked about in the first episode, how we speak about those challenges and highlight the potential that comes with them. You're not just shaping the way teachers, friends, or family see your child, you're also shaping how your child sees themselves. That is gold. That's really what we want as parents, for us to see our children as these amazing human beings with these amazing brains. So again, as we talked about last week, we're going to shift that narrative. We're going to change things. So one of the most effective ways to subtly educate others about ADHD is by consciously choosing words that focus on your child's strengths and the specific ways they learn best. This not only challenges the misconceptions others have, but also reinforces a positive self-image for your child. In the download attached, I'm going to have some powerful language that you can use. And I think it'd be better just to print it out so you can have it ready. But for example, there'll be conversations on reframing disorganization into creative problem solving, from easily distracted into highly observant, from impulsive to quick to act, from energetic to full of energy and enthusiasm. So I'll have that as a download for you. It's important to remember that children are always listening. When they hear how you describe them to others, it shapes their self-perception. If they constantly hear words like disruptive, unfocused, troublemaker, they may start to internalize those labels. How many of us have done that or remember the labels people gave us when we were children? On the other hand, if they hear you talking about their energy, creativity, and curiosity, they're more likely to see those qualities in themselves. So as parents, we have an incredible opportunity to help our children develop a positive identity, even if the world around them sometimes sees them differently. So an example of this could be, imagine that your child is having a hard time sitting through family dinner. Instead, you could say of saying, why can't you just sit still like everyone else? You could try to say, I can see you have a lot of energy right now. Why don't you go take a quick break and come back when you're ready?
This acknowledgement changes the situation, but doesn't make them feel bad for it or anyone else at the table. I can't tell you the times that type of example worked in the classroom. It worked amazingly. Seriously, it was wonderful. So we want to turn negative labels into opportunities for growth. The labels we often hear associated with ADHD, disruptive, hyperactive, unfocused, they're usually framed as negatives. But what if we flipped those labels and instead saw them as clues to how a child might approach challenges or opportunities differently? So in the download, I will also talk about these 3 labels and how we could approach them differently. The disruptive, hyperactive, unfocused. What are some ways that we could approach those differently? And I'm also going to give you some practical tips for using positive language with teachers. So when the teacher says, your child can't sit still in class, I have suggestions for how to improve that. Or if they mention, your child is easily distracted, or if they mention, your child doesn't follow directions, go ahead and just get my cheat sheet for those. The more we, as parents, model these subtle language shifts, the more we can help shape society's understanding of ADHD. Over time, when people hear you describe ADHD as a unique way of thinking and problem solving, rather than just a list of challenges, they begin to see children with ADHD in a new light. These conversations, whether they're with teachers, family, friends, or even strangers, are opportunities to gently guide people toward a more compassionate and strengths-based understanding of what ADHD really means. And at the time of this podcast, it's October, and it's ADHD Awareness Month. So what a great time to start speaking and shifting the way people perceive and talk about those with ADHD. So I encourage you to take a moment after this episode to think about the language you're using to describe your child's ADHD, both to others and to your child. How can you start incorporating more strengths-based language into your conversations? You don't have to change everything overnight. No baby steps, please. Even a small shift in language can create ripple effects that lead to greater understanding and empathy in the long run. And make sure you download the cheat sheet so that you can have that language with you.
And now a word from our sponsor, Success Coaching. If your child has ADHD, you've probably heard all the typical advice. Create routines, use discipline, or try medications. But what if there's a better way? Please go ahead and get my free 3-part video series. It's like a little mini course. Small 15-minute-ish videos, and you will discover in the videos the hidden secret to calming hyperactivity with simple sensory tools, why rigid routines aren't the answer and what you can do instead, and executive functioning skills can be taught. They're not fixed. These natural, easy-to-implement strategies can transform your child's ability to focus, stay calm, and feel confident, all without medication. Are you ready to dive in? Grab the series now and start seeing the results at home. And you can find that series at www.nexus-mastery.com/ADHD secrets. That's nexus-mastery.com/ADHD secrets. And let's unlock your child's true potential, one video lesson at a time. See you there. Now let's get back to our episode.
Okay, let's move on to the next section. Segment number 2, collaborating with teachers. When it comes to supporting a child with ADHD in the school environment, parents and teachers are natural allies. Both want best for their child, But sometimes the road to understanding each other can be rocky. Oh, I know this from both perspectives. For parents, it's about finding ways to work with teachers, not against them, to create supportive and effective learning environment. In this segment, we're going to explore strategies for how to initiate those conversations and turn them into meaningful collaborations rather than confrontations. So I want you with the teacher to start with empathy and understanding. One of the most important things to remember and to teach our children, when collaborating with teachers, they are often managing classrooms filled with students, each with their own unique needs, and most of them have some type of neurodiversity that needs to be managed and taken into consideration. While ADHD may be front and center in your world, it might not be for them. That's why approaching the conversation with empathy and understanding is key. So then I would prepare for the conversation. Go in with a clear goal. What do you want to achieve? What specific issues or challenges are you looking to address? And what suggestions or accommodations do you think will help your child succeed? I would start the conversation by acknowledging the challenges of managing a classroom full of diverse learners, saying things like, I know teaching a class of 25, 30, 35 students with different needs is tough, and I appreciate the work you're doing. Can go a long way. It really can, in setting a positive tone. This shows the teacher that you recognize, or if your kid is in middle school, the multiple teachers. It's good to talk to them all, if possible. It shows that teacher that you recognize their hard work and that you're here to work together. Okay, here's a little tip. It can be helpful to come with examples of what works at home. For example, if you've noticed that your child focuses better with visual schedules, share that with the teacher. We love to see those type of things. The goal isn't to tell the teacher how to do their job, but offer insight into what helps your child thrive. You could say something like, we found that using a visual timer or checklist helps my child stay on task. Would it be possible to implement something like this in the classroom? Teachers love that sort of input because it helps us know your child better, but it also helps us create plans and strategies to help the child. And then teachers know that you're on the same page as them. So that's a wonderful suggestion or tip. And also, the most productive conversations with teachers are built on the foundations of collaborative problem solving. Rather than focusing on the difficulties your child is facing, try reframing it with the teacher, teaching them, right, how to talk about your child, but try framing the conversation around finding solutions together. So if the teacher is expressing concern about your child's ability to sit still during lessons over and over and over again, you could say, what strategies have you tried so far? This invites the teacher to share their perspective, and you could build on what is offered by offering a potential solution. You could say, well, at home, we let them use a fidget tool to take quick breaks or to move around. It helps them reset. Would that be something we could try in the classroom? Again, giving the teacher those options is an amazing opportunity to help see success in the future, because sometimes teachers don't have time to plan for all of those options. You could come up with if your child is struggling with staying organized, you can say, I know organization is a challenge for my child, but we found that when instructions are broken down into smaller steps, they can manage tasks much better. Can we try that approach with their homework or class assignments? The key here is to keep the tone collaborative, not accusatory or demanding, right? You're trying to figure out how to support your ADHD child by framing it as we rather than you. You can avoid putting the teacher on the defensive if you don't accuse them. And of course, suggesting reasonable accommodations. Every teacher needs to make accommodations, but suggesting reasonable ones is amazing And again, so helpful. It's important to advocate for your child's needs in the classroom, but it's equally important to suggest accommodations that are reasonable and manageable within the scope of a busy, busy classroom. There's many, many children, many, many needs, many changes throughout the day. Lots of unexpected activities happen throughout the day. So teachers are open to trying new strategies when they're practical and don't disrupt the flow of the day or of our teaching. So some accommodations, I will also put in the PDF because I fear that this podcast is getting really long. I actually might have to break this into 2 podcasts, 2 episodes, because it's going to get long. So much I want to say on this topic, but some accommodations could be movement breaks, flexible seating, task chunking, using fidgets, visual aids and timers. All of those are wonderful accommodations. And again, I'll put those in the PDF so you have those ready. So again, you really want to collaborate with your child's teacher, or if they're middle school, their teachers. It's not just a one-time conversation. It's an ongoing process. After you've discussed strategies and accommodations, it's important to check in regularly to see how things are going. One way to keep communication flowing is to set a system of regular updates, whether it's through email and notebooks sent back and forth. Like if they have a planner, the teacher can leave notes in there, or signatures, or some kind of system. It's important to check in on those frequently, or you could even just have brief little meetings. Yeah. And you could just say to the teacher, I'd love to keep in touch about how these strategies are working. Could we set up a monthly check-in or email updates to see what's working and what might need adjustment? So something that general could certainly help with the updates. So always approach these follow-ups with an open mind. If the teacher says a strategy isn't working as planned, ask them, what do you think would work better? Keeping the conversation collaborative and toward problem solving. We want to find solutions. And of course, then there's that fine line of advocating without being overly demanding. I know we all want what's best for our children, but there's lots of people that the teacher's trying to consider in the classroom, not to mention just the children, but their parents as well as administration and curriculum. So as much as you might want to advocate for your child in a very strong way, it's important to avoid coming across as demanding or accusatory. Teachers are more likely to be receptive when they feel that you're on their team. We all are on the same team, right? Even me as a holistic neurogrowth learning and life success coach, I'm on your team as well. So here's some strategies to advocate effectively without creating some tension. Ask for input. Instead of dictating what needs to happen, ask the teacher for their input. What do you think might work for my child? Because children at school and children at home are usually very different children. So trying to see what works at school versus what works at home. And it shows that you respect their expertise and you want to find a solution that works. Be open to feedback. Sometimes teachers may offer suggestions you hadn't considered. So keep that in mind and be willing to try their ideas at home as well. If a teacher suggests trying some different seating arrangement or modifying a lesson structure, express appreciation. Teachers work really hard. They do. And acknowledging their effort goes a long way, even if the situation isn't perfect. Thank them for their willingness to work with you and try new strategies. This, being positive with teachers, will encourage them to keep going and trying new things and partner with you. Okay. You can also bring in additional resources. If your child's teacher seems uncertain about how to best support a student with ADHD, I know when I first started teaching, it was not something that was taught in our teacher training schools. It's additional work that a teacher would have to do to learn about it, which I had to do. So it's fine to offer support, provide resources if they are struggling or they don't know much about it. and bring in that support. You can say things like, I know this can be a lot to manage. I'd be happy to share some resources on ADHD in the classroom if you're interested, or just ADHD in general if you're interested. We could also talk about working with the school counselor or if there's any special education staff to make sure the child is getting the support they need. And of course, if your child does not yet have a 504 or an IEP, definitely talk to the special ed staff or the school counselor to see if your child qualifies. They are formal plans that ensure your child gets the accommodations they need in the classroom. But having said that, even if they do have this, teachers need to follow the plans, but giving them all of the help that I've suggested earlier does not hurt at all, even if they do have these plans. So even if your child does have these, make sure your teacher is following the plans. And if they need to adjust the 504 or IEP, call a meeting and get it adjusted, because children change, classrooms change, there's changes all the time. So once a year, you should be reviewing those plans and making changes as needed. Collaborating with teachers doesn't have to be a struggle. By approaching the conversation with empathy, offering practical solutions, and fostering open communication, you can build a strong partnership that supports your child's success in school. Remember, you're not just advocating for accommodations, you're helping to create an environment where your child's strengths can shine and their challenges can be managed with compassionate, productive way. Well, this episode went on much longer than I thought it would, so we're going to pick up and do part 2 next episode, where we will talk about how to help with friends, family, community, how to come up with a plan. Also, we're going to do that special activity with you and your child and practice some of what we're talking about here. So please don't forget to download the PDF for some of those talking points that I said in the episode. And I'll see you next time for part 2. Thank you very much. And remember, keep it quirky, because in the Neuroquirky Nexus, every quirk is a connection waiting to be made. Bye-bye. See you in our next episode.
Thank you for listening to Neuroquirky Nexus. We are so glad you took the time to join us today. I know time is precious, and we are so glad you're here. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. Please don't forget to post your activity using hashtag NeuroNexus. That's NeuroNexus. And of course, all links are in the show notes. And I just really hope you enjoyed it. So if you did, please like and subscribe and share this with a friend. I think this is really good for families that are new to their child being diagnosed with ADHD. And I believe that the tips and tricks and resources I'll be sharing will be very helpful for all families, but especially new families. And finally, I am creating a workshop coming up to help families with ADHD finding and using a holistic, natural approach in support of a book chapter that I'm writing and articles and magazines that are coming out. But my workshop, I'm so excited about because I can work with you all one-on-one. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you again. And remember, let's keep it quirky. See you next time.